In the year 2003, the state of music in Southern California was on the decline and seeking a rebirth in sound and style. The sheer notion of building a community was on the rise and there was no turning back. But the question remained, where would musicians go to hone in on their craft and ultimately find their home? A place that would support their ideas and play a pivotal role in bringing music back in Southern California? Well, that, my friends, would all begin at Cideshow Studios.
I'm standing right outside of Cideshow Studios here in Gardena, California, a frequent rehearsal spot where bands not only rehearse their songs, but also refine them to play them live. Sherman Jones, the owner, has invited us to come inside and see why this place remains a staple here in Southern California. Let's go take a look.
Cideshow Studios started mostly as an idea. I would estimate about 2002. Gimme and I, my guitar player and my partner who started Cideshow Studios, he was working for a trucking company, I was working for a school district. You know, the band is not really active and we're discussing about things that we can do for ourselves, that's go into business, and you know, it could have been one of a million things, but some of the things that we bounced around as ideas were a nightclub, a bar, and just those ideas really weren't flying for me. Getting a liquor license is expensive. I don't want to hang out with drunks at 2 o'clock in the morning. It can be dangerous, and I don't know what it was, but the word rehearsal studio came up, and that was an idea that we could grasp. It seemed easy enough. We've both been in rehearsal halls. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of overhead in opening a rehearsal hall, so we stuck with that. But in 2003, when we opened the first Cideshow Studios, we actually opened using equipment that I had stored in my garage.
And from that point on, we got a building over off of Main Street, Gardena Boulevard. That was our first place. It was messed up, man. We pretty much used the rooms that were there. It was a medical building at one point. So to tie it into insecticide, we called it Sideshow with a C, insecticide, Sideshow. So it kind of made sense to me, and I'm like, okay. And then from there, Sideshow it was.
So you walk in, and there's these long hallways. And basically where the rehearsal studios used to be were offices. So I remember just this whole really long carpet that you'd have to go through. And then the rooms were pretty big. I mean, but on one side where you could clearly see there used to be like a reception area. And then on this side they had added the stage and everything. So it was pretty cool though. It had all these like winding hallways.
The way we were finding customers to come into the building was, I still do this today. It's still like my staple characteristic is I make paper flyers, and I'm a more vocal person than Gimme. I can go talk to strangers. Gimme can talk to strangers, but I might start talking about other things with the stranger and totally get off the subject. And then, you know, next thing I know, I'm saying, "See you later, Tom. It was nice meeting you. Yeah, I'll call you next week." When Gimme and I met as a band, we would go out a lot and we would do networking. We were just trying to find like-minded people. So all I did was take that aspect of what we did with the band and transferred it over, trying to drum up customers.
Sherman and I have been around bands our whole life, our other band, you know, we went on the road, you're dealing with egos. There's always a band that you're going to play with that, you know, they have an attitude or they think they're the best thing, you know, since sliced bread. And we understood all the things like there's always going to be one guy in the band that's late. Always. There's always going to be one guy that didn't show up. They're going to want to cut it short, maybe because they didn't have enough money to go the whole thing. We would cut them slack. We knew that when you're in a band, you are set up to fail. That's why if it wasn't set up that way, there'd be a billion bands making millions of dollars. But it's not a business that you're gonna fail most of the time, as we all know. And so when a band comes in, they seem to all be on the same page. It's pretty cool. They're all smoking, man. They're all grinding the same gear, and you can tell there's something there. That's really kind of a cool time. But most of the time it wasn't. Most of the time it was, you could tell this band ain't gonna be around long, or this and that, But there were the gems, but we were thoughtful to the bands because we knew.
We first came across Sideshow when I think our drummer Marco, who's my longtime friend, we were playing in a band called Black Chapel, and we were like, well, let's go. At the time we were rehearsing at my parents' house, and they couldn't do it anymore. It was too loud. So we're like, well, I call them up, I'm like, we gotta find somewhere to go. It's some kind of rehearsal or something. Like, all right, let me make some phone calls. And I don't know how he came across it. I think he heard it from someone else.
Total Chaos. It was the drummer for Total Chaos. He's the one that told me about Sideshow. He's like, hey bro, you gotta go check out Sideshow and Sherman and Gimme. And this was like in 2006, five?
Like 4.
2004.
When we started the business, we did everything straight 50-50. What we did was Gimme took Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I took Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, and we alternated on Mondays.
Yeah, here's a funny story. So, well, we both did it. We both answered the phone. If it was our day to work, we would call everybody. I would call everybody on my day. But a lot of times when I would come in or Sherman would come in, there would already be, the board would be full. So we wouldn't really have to do much. People don't show up. People come in late. Hey, I booked a room from 6 to 8. We didn't have a grace period. We overlapped bands because we had that many bands coming in. So you did 6 to 8. You needed to be out at 8. You know what I mean? So a lot of people don't follow that rule. They're into it, man. They're writing the greatest song they've ever heard, and they don't want to stop at 8. So you always had that problem.
We shared roles. Maybe I was a little bit more proactive in things. Our tastes are a little bit different in decor, but on the most part, when we were laying carpet, trying to find guys to do manual labor for us, I kind of maybe took over the role. I would make the phone calls, make sure they get paid, this and that. But if something needed to be picked up in a truck, Gimme would go do it. If someone had to go let someone in, Gimme would do it. We split the responsibilities 50-50. Sometimes I do 70 and he did less? Yes. Was there times where maybe he did 70 and I did less? Yes. I thought we were a real good team. The problem with that is we're already in the same band together, so we both, at times in the band, I've said this numerous times, we want to be top dog.
Sherman, off the bat, was always the one who was, if I had to describe Sherman, he's like a ping pong. He's just bouncing everywhere. He's doing this and that. Gimme was more like he would stay in the office and just, what do you need? He'd take care of you, no doubt about that. He'd take care of you, but Sherman was the one running around. Like you see him like running across the room. You're setting up your equipment and you just see him walking by the room. He's helping someone out and whatnot, But Sherman, I feel like Sherman was definitely more involved.
At that time, there weren't that many bands in there rehearsing. I think we went, and during the time that we were the only ones there. But every time I went to see them, they were always sitting in the front office, and I would bring them like snacks or cookies or something. And it was just like, okay, we'll sit there and eat. I didn't really talk to them that much because I think they were busy, running the studio and stuff like that. But yeah, I just remember it being friendly.
It was a Saturday, and Gimme comes pulling up to my house. And I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't you be at the studio opening up, right? Or maybe you had a cancellation. You're going to go open at noon or at 1 o'clock. So Gimme, hey, we're talking. Hey, he's okay. I need to talk to you. And he's all, it's kind of personal. So we were sitting on my porch, porch bench, and the sun feels good. And I think I'm just sitting in some shorts because he caught me on a Saturday and I'm just lounging around. And he said, I have to bow out of Sideshow. And it kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I went over there and I just, I just let him, I just really felt like it was the right thing to do. And business is a different animal. And, it's like, hey man, what'd you do? Cause we used to split it. Every week we would make a schedule, and I would do 4 nights and he would do 3. And then the next week I would do 3 nights. He'd do 4 nights, that kind of thing. Well, we were both working, day jobs. I mean, you get out of that place at 2 a.m, man. I got to be up at 6 o'clock going to a job, and after a while I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not making any money here. I'm sleeping 4 hours a night, and so it just didn't make sense for me to keep doing it.
So after Gimme had left and it was just me, I think I ran Sideshow by myself for almost 6 years. And I've been fortunate that I've had people that have worked for me. But the people that have worked for me have all had a tie to the building where I know who they are. So there's a trust level involved. And there have been some people that have worked for me, considering this is a really cash-based system where things just don't jive in the books and I catch them somehow. It's like, you have to go. How did I meet Gina? Well, if you're looking for an actual year, I'd have to calculate my head. I'm sure she's a little bit better than this, but I can tell you this. It was a Sunday. And the reason I know it was a Sunday was because I was here working the building and I had about an hour and a half of free time. And it was just a long day for me. I was here late the night before. I had to wake up early the next day to go to work. So it was like, well, what I could do now is I can rest and get ready for the next band in about an hour and a half because I'm going to be here late that night. And a friend of mine was playing. So it was one of those things where I weighed. It's like, well, I can stay here for about an hour and a half and rest, actually physically take a nap, set my alarm and wake up and continue my day, or I go support my buddy's band. So it's like, okay, let me go support my buddy's band.
So at that time I was living with my sister and she was trying to get me out of the house. I was kind of always in the house. So we went to the branch office in Torrance. I believe it's still there. And we went to go see a band, a friend of ours, Derek Kelly. So she finally got me out and we went in there to have a drink and Sherman walks in. I had seen him before somewhere at a show or something. And he walks in, he kind of sits right next to me. And he said, can I get you guys a drink? I said, yeah, sure. So he bought my sister and I a drink. And he asked me if I wanted to go to dinner. And I said, okay. And then he gets up and he's talking to other people in the room. Because of course he knows everybody in the room. So he goes around and talks to everybody in there. And then he leaves. And I was like, okay, well, he didn't get my phone number or anything, but I knew that he knew Derek, so he'd get it from him or whatever.
So Gina came in the picture, about halfway through all this now, or a little over halfway now. And ever since I met Gina again, I thought it was, perfect fit. She's kind, she's friendly, she's again, heart, a huge heart. Like you could tell, that. Just it's all genuine and it's all love, it's like you just feel that right at home.
Gina is a sweetheart, she's the sweetheart of Sideshow. When she first came around, you could smell it. It's like there's a woman here, there's a presence, someone's helping out. I'm saying like small things like there's always toilet paper now, and then big things like, oh my God, it's so festive in here. And it's so warm,
Yeah, we take it very personal. I mean, the bands that come in are very personal. They're our friends. And we don't just send them to the room and they play. I mean, we'll walk them to the door and say how their day is going and small talk. And like I said, we have a back patio. In fact, there's a band still out there now hanging out. And that's okay. And we welcome everybody.
Dude, rehearsal space is the most important part of being part of a band if you want to grow. If you want to have a place where you can separate yourself from everything and everyone around you it is a rehearsal space, because all it does is force you to be engulfed in your instruments, in your music, and surround yourself with musicians. And although we like to party, and there's a lot of partying happening in studios, that's, you know, not the main gig. You're there to make music, to jam, to connect with musicians, and to network.
A rehearsal studio for bands is a place for them to go. Not everyone has the luxury of having a garage or a house. There's always prep work involved. And I've been going to rehearsal studios since the 80s, and I've gone to some crappy places. I've gone to some real upscale places. And when Gimme and I decided, when we actually said, let's do a rehearsal studios, we kind of just grabbed the best from all the places that we went to, and let's just make it our own.
When you practice here, you kind of see if your band has chemistry. And obviously this isn't my, I'm 33 years old, so this is my first band, but I've been in bands where it's just, I've talented musicians, but it's just not clicking. So when you practice here, especially here, because they kind of give you the room to do your thing, and they're very laid back people here. So it just gives you that freedom to, hey, what's going on? And then Sherman and Gina, they're real cool, and they'll tell you, hey, that sounded good. And they'll tell you hey, you guys are really you're really onto something. They kind of give you feedback sometimes when you're practicing here, which helps the band. Especially a band like my band, we're very, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm pretty chill, kind of quiet, and my whole band's kind of like that. We're all laid back, and and it's just us three in the room. We don't really invite anybody, so it's kind of hard when you don't have that feedback sometimes, and they kind of give you that feedback when you want it.
Showing up to a rehearsal space with whether it's a lockout or you block out 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever it might be, everybody shows up equally, and everybody contributes equally. Everybody's got to be prepared equally, even if you run a few minutes late or whatever. Or we have the thing though. Anger has this thing where it's if we feel like we've done a great rehearsal and we're wiped out and tired, I usually raise my hand and go, "I'll be the wuss. I'm ready to go home." But it's important to meet at a central location where nobody has the upper hand. That way everybody can work and everybody's ego gets checked at the door.
We wanted to record our album, and we practiced here all the time. We sometimes every week we'd practice here getting ready for the album, and we created our whole album at this place. And the album name is, most people don't know this, but we got it from here. It's the amount we pay here. When you divide it by 3 people, it comes out to 13.33, and one of the guys was like, we should just call our album 1333 since we created the album here. So without this place, we wouldn't have that album and the album name. So
what does Sideshow give you that other places don't?
Sense of community. Everybody comes here, everybody kind of knows each other already, right? And I feel like, just having people like Sherm run this place, it just makes it 1,000 times better. I feel like I'm playing at home, my own garage sometimes. I just feel that comfortable playing here. And they've been here for, y'all been coming here since when? Since 2018?
Oh, I've been coming to Sherman since 2011, I think.
So what would you say, what are the benefits to Sideshow for you?
Man, he treats us good, and he has all the equipment we have. We don't need to bring a PA.
It's close to home too?
Close to home.
South Bay?
10 minutes. He's a cool person. Got restrooms, got a little patio to take a breather. Yeah, and the rooms sound great, so he never lets us down.
So at Sideshow, there is a location by the soda machine where there's a big board, and you can put in, whether you're looking for musicians, you put in your shows that you're going to be telling you. He supports all that. He's constantly letting people advertise for their band, in his facility, which is great because then you got other bands. I've even come across a band that I've heard of, but didn't know they were going to be playing, or see a flyer that a band practices there, and I'm like, wow, what they sound like, and you wouldn't have heard that,
Not too many. I've been to other rehearsal studios, and yeah, they have a little board, but it's usually, it's not like his. I don't know. There's something about his facility is magical.
Talk to me about the bulletin board, because that to me is the most important aspect here.
Yes, that bulletin board has been up since the beginning, since we first came. I mean, I think we ended up booking and working with bands and other people that were on that bulletin board, Hey, metal band, we need metal bands for shows. Oh, shoot, look at this. Yeah, let's grab that number. Let's call, let's go, let's email, let's do this, let's do that. Bulletin board has always come through, and I believe even in the later years, trying to form other bands, man, that bulletin board is like key.
That's a very interesting question, because I think that the bulletin board is a connection that brings you to that community and not outside. It's not on your phone. You're not going to a website to find out who's a guitar player that's available or a video crew. If you have a bulletin board and if you have this communication outlet where you can, okay, look, this guy's local, he lives here, he's got a phone, and here's a little tab, I could pull off the tab, and here's the number, stick it in your wallet. So you have a bulletin board because you're communicating in real time.
I think it's the best thing about waiting to go to the bathroom. You're like, what's on the bulletin board? You're like, damn, this person does music, this person records, Some people don't have access to all those things. Some people, they're savants and they know how to record the stuff by themselves or whatever. It gives people an opportunity, not just the musicians, right? Everybody behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, who does everything else. Music videos, I just saw a flyer that was this guy that wanted to promote his abilities to make a music video. And I'm like, that's really cool, because not everyone could just pick up their phone and just record something and put some silly track behind it and then, upload it to YouTube. It's more professional. And, you need that.
Oh yeah, a lot of people use it. I tell everybody, I have people come in the office and they say, oh, do you know any drummers or guitar players? And I said, hey, you know what? We get a lot of bands here, sometimes, 10 bands a night. And everybody looks at the bulletin board at some point. They go to the restroom, they stop at the bulletin board, they post things, as you can see. So I tell them to make a flyer, that's the best thing, and then post it. And I'll even help them make a flyer. I'll get the paper, and I've actually done a couple for somebody, and they use it. And it's very helpful because we've got bands together. We're like matchmakers as well.
In more recent years, Cideshow Studios has not only been a central place for bands to rehearse at, but now offers bands the ability to show the payoff of those rehearsals at their in-house all-ages venue, now known as Backstage Live.
Sherman had always talked about having a space where it could be for all ages, for everyone to come and enjoy music. So they've finally been able to have that here, and it's been accomplished. So they've already thrown a couple of shows. I mean, through the years it's happened, but it's always good to see that they're here for the community. And it's very important because, again, there's no venues that are all ages right now. So that's amazing.
I saw how excited Sherman was to make it. So I know how important it is for him. Like I said, he was like, I want lights, fog, chimes, like everything. And I saw the ball rolling. I saw Gina pushing the ball to get it rolling. And his first show, he was so excited, He's like, what he said, he wanted to do a Sunday matinee for some of us old-timers who don't really want to be in a mosh pit. And they could if they wanted to, but, we could chill, have a beer, watch the game, and watch our friend's band play. And that's exactly what happened.
We worked hard to get that, that first show to go. And I was more concerned, how's it going to look? So when I finally got to walk out, because I was doing the door, I walk out and I see all these people, and I'm like, wow, it just really was touching. It was so worth it. And every show we do, it just, it's better and better.
It's important to nurture the new crop of whatever musical situation there is. It doesn't have to be metal. It could be anything, right? Reggae, country, western. I mean, no matter what musical genre it is, it's needed. And there needs to be young, fresh possibilities. Okay. Yeah. There's only so many notes on the guitar. There's only so many chords. There's only so many rhythms. Music is going to repeat its sound every 10, 15 years. But they'll bring an energy to it that we didn't maybe have in our time. And so where is that stuff going to go? I think Backstage Live is what is probably why Sherman, it's probably his intention, give them a voice. Maybe the next great band will come out of there that maybe couldn't have because they never had a place to play.
Just playing there a few weeks ago was just as good as playing at any other regular club. So I put Backstage up there with other clubs. The stage, the lighting, the sound, all of it.
I enjoy doing it, and it's not a chore for me.
I think the reason this place has been running for so long is really because of Sherman and Gina. I mean, I've gone to other places and people just don't want to talk to you, or or hey, can I book this room? Yeah, go for it, and then that's it, and you leave. And those places don't really leave you with a good taste in your mouth sometimes. And here we keep coming back because we know them and we feel this is our spot. They made us feel like this is our home to practice music, to come up with stuff. And I mean, there's even been to a point where we've had a gig, and I remember one time we were missing a stand and nobody had a stand, and I was like, you know what, let me call them, you never know, and yeah, come by, pick it up. And we've been playing here for a while, so I'm assuming they trusted us to bring their stuff back, and it just feels like another like a musical home. And I truly don't think it's not the place, it's Sherman and Gina that made it happen like that. So
I think, like I said, it's the bands come in. They are more like our kids. We call them our kids, family, friends. It's a relationship I feel like I have with them. They not only come in the office and pay me after they're done and book the next week, but some of them come in and we talk for 10, 15 minutes. I ask them, was your rehearsal tight? You guys did good? And how was their practice? I feel like I'm one of the guys. When they come in, I talk to them about life, problems with their girlfriends, boyfriends, their rehearsal, how'd it go? It's definitely a couple of the younger people said I'm very motherly, and I do. I like to take care of everybody.
I hope that Sherman and Gina keep doing this for another 20 years, man. Because there's no other rehearsal studio like this. There's not. And we've been to quite a few other ones, and they don't do it. This is a spot.
It's interesting to me that a guy who was with his best friend came up with an idea and it's lasted this long, and the people that come in here and say that they love my place and how we've helped them and whatnot, and I see people come in and I see a little bit of myself in them, maybe a novice player, band starting out. I see the arguments going on, but I'm also very fortunate for what I have, that I can say, well, I took a chance, I took a leap of faith, I did things my way in a sense, that I have my routine and what works for me and what I think people should come in here with an expectation and have an experience. And if I was a fucking jerk and a pompous ass and belittled people, I don't think I would be here for 20 years.
Maybe Sideshow and the scene, maybe they need each other in the sense that he provides a place for the community to exist, but the community needs to exist at Sideshow, if that makes sense. Yes, it's a rehearsal place, and yes, he'll do occasional events there, or whatever the case may be. But you're also seeing friends there because they're super friendly, he and Gina, and it's community. It's that sense of community, and that represents a lot of what this used to be back in the late '80s, early '90s, before things went sideways.
Kicked on a crime, did not commit.
Dennis Berman was a local tech slash sound man. Dealt with a lot of bands, worked at clubs. Dennis Berman was actually Sideshow's second tech. I had known of Dennis Berman back in the 80s. I knew that he was an elderly gentleman. I knew that he worked at the Waters Club. I knew that he did repair work, but he never worked on any of my stuff. And the way I got in contact with Dennis was we had a mutual friend, and my band Insecticide was getting ready to go on our first North American tour back in 1988, and we needed a rehearsal hall. And I was talking to my buddy, and he says, hey, Dennis Berman has a rehearsal hall. He has a room out in Long Beach that he rents to bands. I got his number. I called him. I met him. I signed the papers. I gave him the money. And he was a very nice, cordial man, elderly man. He was probably already in his 40s around this time. And we rented a room for him I had the receipt, and I saw it a few months back. I think we paid $78 for the month, and we shared the room with another local band which we knew of because they were famous from our neighborhood. The band was called Heretic. So for a month, Insecticide and Heretic shared a room. Heretic was already in the room, and after we left they stayed, but we rented it from Dennis Berman. And I didn't see Dennis for a long time after that, and then time just moved on, and then it came to a point where we took that leap of faith and we opened a rehearsal studio. And it wasn't until Sideshow moved to our second location, which is the 18205 South Broadway location, that I got in contact with Dennis Berman again. And I don't remember what sparked that, but I reunited again with Dennis, and he started doing my repairs for the equipment that Sideshow was renting, and it was something that I could offer to people when they asked about if I knew anybody. I said, yeah, we have an in-house tech. I remember one of the last conversations I had with Dennis. He was telling me about a magazine that he read, and it was about like Steve Jobs and all those guys, and he said what made those companies successful in their own right was there was culture. And he told me, he says, Sherman, Sideshow has culture. And, he's gone now, so I'm wrapping my head around it. What did he mean by culture? Well, I guess it's the vibe and everything that Sideshow stands for to support those bands who aren't on that higher level. The bands who are striving to be at that higher level. Everyone starts from somewhere. Your first guitar, your second guitar, your first van, your first gig, your first video. It all starts with one, and it progresses from there.